My family skipped my biggest moment, but when my 92 million valuation hit Forbes, Dad texted family dinner at 7 p.m. Important discussion. Then I showed up. The text message came through at 3:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. No greeting, no pleasantries. Just a command dressed up as an invitation. I stared at my phone screen for a full minute before setting it down on my desk next to the framed Forbes cover that had arrived that morning. My father hadn't spoken to me in nearly 4 years. Neither had my mother, my brother Tyler, or my sister Amanda. 4 years of silence broken by 14 words in a period that somehow felt more aggressive than any exclamation point could have been. The text had come from a number I didn't recognize. He'd gotten a new phone, or perhaps he was using a work line. Either way, he found a way around the block I'd placed on his old number. I should probably back up. Growing up in Portland, I was the middle child in a family that treated birth order like a caste system. Tyler, 3 years older, got the attention reserved for firstborns and future heirs to my father's commercial real estate empire. Amanda, 5 years younger, enjoyed the coddling that came with being the baby. I existed somewhere in between, visible only when I failed to meet expectations or succeeded in ways they found inconvenient. My father, Kenneth Peaton, built his fortune buying distressed properties during the 2008 recession. He loved reminding us of his brilliance at every dinner table conversation. My mother, Patricia, came from old East Coast money and never let anyone forget it. Together, they created a household where worth measured in quarterly earnings and social connections. When I was 16, I built my first app. Nothing revolutionary, just a study tool that helps students organize their assignments and track deadlines. I showed it to my father one evening after dinner, pulling up the interface on my laptop with shaking hands. He glanced at it for maybe 10 seconds. "That's nice, sweetheart. Tyler, tell your mother about the Henderson contract." The conversation moved on. I closed my laptop and went upstairs. College should have been my escape. I got into MIT on a full academic scholarship, something I was genuinely proud of. My parents attended the graduation ceremony where I gave the valedictorian speech, but they left immediately afterward for Amanda's dance recital. Tyler didn't come at all. He was closing a deal in San Francisco. At MIT, I found my people students who stayed up until 300 a.m. debugging code, who understood that solving a complex algorithm felt better than any drug. I met my future business partner, Jade Morrison, in a computer science seminar our sophomore year. She was brilliant, ambitious, and came from a family that actually celebrated her achievements. We started working on project ideas late in our junior year. The concept for MindBridge came during finals week. Born from our mutual frustration with existing mental health resources, we envisioned an AI-powered platform that could provide immediate, accessible mental health support while connecting users to licensed professionals. Not a replacement for therapy, but a bridge to it. After graduation, we moved into a terrible apartment in Cambridge and started coding. I used my savings from various internships. Jade maxed out 2 credit cards. We lived on ramen and coffee, working 16-hour days, debugging until our eyes burned. I told my family about MindBridge during a holiday visit home. It was Christmas Eve nearly 5 years ago now, and I'd spent $600 I didn't have on plane tickets because my mother had insisted family traditions mattered. "So you're not getting a real job?" my father asked, swirling scotch in a crystal tumbler. "This is a real job. We already have a working prototype and—" "Sweetheart, playing with computers isn't a career," my mother interrupted. "Tyler's already being considered for partner at his firm. Perhaps you could ask him about entry-level positions." Amanda, home from her sophomore year at Northwestern, didn't even look up from her phone. I left 2 days later on the morning of December 26th and told myself I didn't care. That was the last real conversation I had with any of them. Our first investor meeting happened in March. A small venture capital firm in Boston agreed to hear our pitch. I was terrified. Jade and I practiced our presentation 47 times. I wore the one professional outfit I owned, a navy suit I bought secondhand. We walked out with $500,000 in seed funding. I called my parents from the parking lot, hands still trembling with adrenaline and disbelief. My mother answered on the 4th ring. "That's wonderful, honey. Listen, I'm actually heading into a junior league meeting. Can I call you back?" She never did. The next 3 years blurred together in the way startup years do. We hired our first employees, moved into actual office space, launched the beta version of MindBridge to overwhelming response. The platform resonated with people who needed help but faced barriers to traditional therapy cost, accessibility, stigma, time. We raised a Series A round, then a Series B. User numbers climbed from thousands to hundreds of thousands. Mental health professionals praised our approach. We won innovation awards. I sent my family updates periodically, press releases, links to articles, screenshots of positive user reviews. My mother would occasionally respond with a brief congratulations. My father never acknowledged any of it. Tyler and Amanda maintained complete silence. The growth of MindBridge brought challenges I hadn't anticipated. Scaling from a 2-person operation to a company with 47 employees meant learning management skills I didn't have. Jade and I attended leadership workshops, hired experienced executives, and made plenty of mistakes along the way. Our Chief Technology Officer, Brenda Wu, came from Google and initially intimidated me. She was 15 years older, had led teams of hundreds, and could spot technical debt from a mile away. During her second week, she cornered me in the break room. "You're avoiding giving me critical feedback," she said, pouring coffee into a company mug. "I'm not avoiding. You are. I can see it in your body language during code reviews. You disagree with my architectural decisions, but won't say it directly." My face flushed. "I just don't want to seem like I'm undermining your expertise." Brenda laughed. "Wendy, you hired me because I'm good at what I do, but this is your company, your vision. If you think I'm wrong about something, you need to tell me. Being a leader means having difficult conversations." That interaction changed how I approached management. I started speaking up, trusting my instincts, making decisions even when they felt uncomfortable. Not every choice was right, but at least they were authentic. We also faced our first major crisis about 18 months after launching. A user posted on social media claiming our AI had given them harmful advice during a mental health emergency. The post went viral within hours, accumulating thousands of shares and angry comments. I was in a meeting with potential partners when Marcus burst in, phone in hand. "We have a situation." The next 72 hours were brutal. We pulled server logs, reviewed the conversation transcripts, consulted with our advisory board of licensed therapists. Turns out the user had deliberately manipulated our system, feeding it false information to generate problematic responses, then edited screenshots to make the situation look worse. We issued a public statement with the facts, implemented additional safeguards, and were transparent about our limitations. Some users left the platform. Many more stayed, appreciating our honesty. But the experience rattled me. I spent nights unable to sleep, questioning whether we'd built something dangerous. Jade found me at 4:00 a.m. One morning, sitting in the empty office staring at user data. "You can't personally prevent every possible misuse," she said, sitting beside me. "But what if we're not doing enough? What if someone gets hurt because of something we built? Then we'll take responsibility and do better. But you can't let fear of imperfection stop you from helping the millions of people who genuinely benefit from this platform." I wanted to call my mother that night, some instinct towards seeking parental comfort during crisis. Then I remembered she'd never asked how my company was actually doing. She'd never inquired about challenges or celebrated milestones. Her interest extended only as far as polite acknowledgement. So I called Jade's mom instead. Patricia Morrison talked me through my anxiety, asked smart questions about our safety protocols, and reminded me that doing difficult work meant accepting that not every outcome would be perfect. "You're not playing God," she told me. "You're providing a tool, a good tool from what Jade tells me. Give yourself permission to be human." That conversation meant more to me than she probably realized. Our Series B funding round brought new investors and new pressure. Board meetings became more formal, expectations higher. We had venture capitalists who'd backed billion-dollar companies now scrutinizing our quarterly metrics. One board member, Frank Castellano, reminded me uncomfortably of my father. Same dismissive tone, same way of talking over people, same assumption that his experience trumped everyone else's insights. During one particularly tense meeting, he interrupted my presentation about user growth and underserved communities. "These demographics have lower monetization potential," he said. "We should focus resources on premium features for higher-income users." I set down my laptop remote. Our mission is democratizing mental health care. That means serving people regardless of their income level. Mission is great for TED Talks. We're here to discuss returns on investment. The returns are there. Our data shows that users from all income levels engage with premium features when we price them appropriately. More importantly, serving diverse communities builds trust and word-of-mouth growth that paid advertising can't replicate. Frank leaned back, clearly unconvinced. You're leaving money on the table. I'm building something sustainable. There's a difference. The room fell silent. I expected him to argue further, but another board member, Patricia Okonkwo, spoke up. I think Wendy's right. Short-term monetization versus long-term brand value. We've seen this play out across the industry. Companies that prioritize mission alongside profit tend to outlast those that don't. The discussion moved forward, but I noticed Frank watching me with new assessment in his eyes. After the meeting, he pulled me aside. You've got spine, he said. I pushed to see if you'd fold. You didn't. That's good. Keep doing that. It wasn't an apology, but it was something. I learned that standing firm sometimes earned respect in ways that seeking approval never could. Around this time, Tyler actually did reach out once. Not to my personal phone, which I'd blocked, but through Mindbridge's general business line. Our receptionist forwarded the message to my assistant, who brought it to my attention. Your brother called, asked if you could speak with him about a family matter. Should I schedule something? I stared at the message slip for a long moment. Part of me was curious. Part of me knew exactly what this was about. Tell him I'm unavailable and refer him to our standard business inquiry process if he has professional questions. My assistant nodded, professional enough not to pry, but I saw the question in her eyes. That evening, I did something I hadn't done in months. I looked up Tyler's social media profiles, ones I'd unfollowed but not blocked. His life looked perfect in carefully curated posts, photos with Jennifer at charity galas, updates about case victories, humble brags about professional achievements. What the post didn't show were the details I'd found in my research. His firm's financial troubles. The clients leaving for bigger, more prestigious firms. The fact that making partner at a struggling mid-sized firm wasn't the victory my family had always portrayed it to be. I wondered if that's why he called. If he was facing the same reality my parents eventually would, that success was harder to maintain than they'd expected, and the daughter they dismissed might have figured out something they hadn't. Then I closed the browser and went back to work. Then came the invitation to my TED Talk. Getting asked to speak at TED felt surreal. Me, the girl who used to code in her childhood bedroom while her family discussed Tyler's accomplishments downstairs. I was going to stand on that red circle and talk about democratizing mental health care. The event was scheduled for May 15th in Vancouver. I sent my family the details 3 months in advance, then 2 months in advance, then a month before. We'll try to make it, my mother said when I finally called her directly. It would mean a lot if you were there, I told her. Of course, sweetheart, I'll talk to your father. The day of the talk, I stood backstage smoothing down my dress for the 100th time. Jade gave me a pep talk. Our head of operations, Marcus, assured me I would be amazing. I kept glancing at the entrance, watching attendees file in. My family never showed. I delivered that talk to a room full of strangers, while my parents' siblings and their families were back in Portland. Afterward, I checked my phone backstage. Nothing. No texts, no calls, no explanations. The talk went viral. Within a week, it had 7 million views. Within 2 weeks, 15 million. The platform crashed from new user registrations. We had to emergency scale our servers. My phone exploded with messages from old classmates, professors, former colleagues, distant relatives I barely remembered. Everyone wanted to congratulate me, connect with me, celebrate this moment. My immediate family sent nothing. I made a decision then, standing in our office at 2 a.m. while our team worked to handle the increased traffic. I was done. Done seeking their approval. Done hoping they would suddenly see me. Done diminishing my accomplishments because they made my family uncomfortable. I blocked their numbers, unfriended them on social media, removed them from my emergency contacts. If they wanted to be strangers, I would treat them like strangers. The act of blocking them felt simultaneously liberating and devastating. My thumb hovered over the final confirmation button for nearly 5 minutes before I pressed it. Then it was done. 4 years of one-sided communication severed with a few taps on a screen. Jade took me out for drinks that night. We sat at a quiet bar in Cambridge, expensive whiskey neither of us would have been able to afford 2 years earlier. How do you feel, she asked. Relieved, sad, angry, free, all of it at once. That's probably healthy, actually. I swirled the amber liquid in my glass. My therapist would agree with you. You're seeing someone. That's great. Seemed hypocritical to build a mental health platform while ignoring my own stuff. I took a sip. She's been helping me work through family dynamics patterns of seeking validation from people who won't give it. The whole mess. Jade raised her glass. To breaking patterns. To breaking patterns, I echoed. What I didn't tell her was how much the blocking hurt. Despite everything, despite years of disappointment and dismissal, some part of me had held on to hope. Hope that eventually my family would see me, understand me, choose me. Blocking their numbers meant accepting that they wouldn't, that I had to move forward without that fairy tale reconciliation. My therapist, Dr. Nina Winters, had warned me about this. Grief isn't just about death. You're grieving the family you deserved but didn't have. That's a real loss, even if they're still alive. She was right. For weeks after blocking them, I'd catch myself mentally composing messages I'd never send, imagining conversations where they apologized and meant it, playing out scenarios where they showed up finally sincerely. Then I'd return to reality and focus on the people who actually did show up. The following months brought changes I couldn't have imagined. We raised a Series C round at a 92 million valuation. Forbes reached out about a profile. Then they asked about a cover story. The Forbes interview process was intense. Multiple phone calls, fact-checking sessions, background research. The reporter, a sharp woman named Diane Shepard, asked probing questions about everything from our business model to my personal philosophy on leadership. Your LinkedIn says you grew up in Portland, she noted during one call. Tell me about your family's influence on your entrepreneurial journey. I prepared for this question. My parents emphasized education and hard work. I'm grateful for the foundation that gave me, but they're not involved in the business. Mindbridge has always been mine and Jade's vision. We built it from the ground up ourselves. Diane paused and I could hear her typing. That's interesting. I couldn't find much about your family in public records. Your father runs a commercial real estate firm. That's correct. Did he mentor you in business? I learned more from doing than from a mentorship. Trial and error, honestly. She asked a few more questions, but I kept my answers vague and diplomatic. The truth would sound bitter, and I didn't want the article to be about family dysfunction. This was about Mindbridge, about what we built. When the article was published weeks later, I was relieved to see my family received only a passing mention. P10 credits her educational background and early exposure to business principles for shaping her entrepreneurial mindset. Vague enough to be meaningless, specific enough to avoid questions. The Forbes issue hit newsstands on a Monday morning in September. There I was, front page with a headline, How This 29-Year-Old Built a Mental Health Empire. The article detailed Mindbridge's growth, our impact metrics, and our plans for expansion. It mentioned my MIT background, my partnership with Jade, and our vision for accessible mental health care. The office erupted when the issue arrived. Someone bought champagne. Marcus printed copies for everyone. Brenda hung a framed cover in the conference room. It felt surreal seeing my face on something I'd read since college. My phone exploded with congratulations. Former professors, MIT classmates, industry contacts, distant acquaintances. Even some venture capitalists who'd passed on our earlier funding round sent messages which I found darkly amusing. One message stood out. Patricia Morrison, Jade's mom, saw the Forbes cover. Your parents must be so proud. Call me if you want to chat. I called her that evening. We talked for an hour about Success Family and the complicated intersection of both. She shared stories about her own parents who hadn't understood her decision to become a teacher instead of a doctor. Some parents love their children but don't know how to see them, she said. It's their loss ultimately, but that doesn't make it hurt less. Do you think they'll reach out now? I asked. Probably. Money has a way of making people reconsider their positions. She was right. Of course she was right. It did not mention my family. When the reporter had asked about my upbringing, I kept it vague, supportive. Household encouraged education, grateful for the opportunities I had. The article went live online Sunday night. By Monday morning, my LinkedIn had 847 new connection requests. By afternoon, I'd received interview requests from 3 major news networks. My father's text came through at 3:47 p.m. I didn't respond immediately. I had a board meeting at 4, then a strategy session with our product team, then a call with potential international partners. I glanced at the message periodically throughout the evening, this artifact from a previous life interrupting my present. Jade noticed my distraction during our post-work dinner. You okay? I showed her the text. She read it twice, then looked at me with an expression somewhere between anger and concern. Are you going to go? I don't know. They ignored your TED Talk. They've ignored you for years. Now you're on the cover of Forbes and suddenly it's family dinner time. I know. So why are you even considering this? I pushed food around my plate. Closure, maybe. Confirmation that they're exactly who I think they are. A chance to say everything I never got to say. Or Jade said carefully, you could just block the number and move on. You don't owe them anything. She was right. Of course, I didn't owe them anything. But something about that text gnawed at me the presumption of it, the assumption that I would simply show up because my father commanded it. I spent Tuesday night researching. My father's company had been struggling. Nothing catastrophic, but the commercial real estate market had shifted. Several articles mentioned increased competition and changing consumer preferences. His firm was profitable, but not thriving. Tyler's LinkedIn showed he'd made partner at his firm, but a deeper dive revealed the firm itself was mid-sized and regional, respectable, but not the legal powerhouse my family had always implied. Amanda had graduated and was working in marketing for a local startup. Not my startup, obviously. We'd never even discussed it. Wednesday morning, I made my decision. I called my attorney, Ross Chapman, who'd handled various contracts and agreements for Mindbridge. I need you to draft some documents for me. What kind of documents? Investment opportunity disclaimers, liability, waivers, proof of financial consultation. Can you do that? There was a pause. Wendy, what exactly are you planning? Family dinner. Another pause. Do I want to know? Probably not. But I need these documents to look completely legitimate because they will be completely legitimate. Can you have them ready by tomorrow afternoon? You're going to bill me overtime for this, aren't you? Absolutely. Thursday, I spent the morning in regular meetings and the afternoon preparing. I had Ross bring the documents to my condo. I selected my outfit carefully, a tailored charcoal suit, understated jewelry, my hair pulled back in a neat bun. Professional, successful, unmistakably different from the uncertain young woman who used to beg for their attention. I packed a leather portfolio with the documents Ross had prepared, along with a few other items I'd gathered. Then I ordered a car service. If I was doing this, I was doing it right. The drive to my parents' house in the West Hills took 30 minutes. I'd mapped it out earlier, timing my arrival for exactly 7:00 p.m., not early, not late, punctual in a way that communicated respect for the meeting, if not for the people. The house looked exactly as I remembered, sprawling, expensive, professionally landscaped. Every window glowed warm against the early autumn evening. I could see shadows moving inside my family, gathering for this mysterious, important discussion. I walked to the front door and rang the bell. My mother answered. She'd aged in 4 years. New lines around her eyes, more gray in her carefully styled hair. Her expression cycled through surprise, confusion, and something that might have been pleasure. Wendy, you came. I wasn't sure if you'd gotten your father's message since you never responded. You look wonderful. Is that a new suit? Come in, come in. The house smelled like roasted chicken and rosemary. Classical music played softly from hidden speakers. Everything was exactly as it had been frozen in the amber of my family's carefully maintained lifestyle. My father appeared from his study. He'd aged too, looking smaller somehow, despite his expensive sweater and pressed slacks. Wendy, good. Everyone's in the dining room. No hug, no greeting, just acknowledgement of my presence and immediate direction toward the purpose of this gathering. Tyler and Amanda were already seated at the dining table with their respective partners. Tyler's wife, Jennifer, whom I'd met exactly once at their wedding before the estrangement. Amanda's boyfriend, Derek, whom I'd never met at all. Oh my gosh, Wendy! Amanda stood up, moving toward me with outstretched arms. It's been forever. You look amazing. Forbes cover, right? That's so cool. I accepted her hug with the warmth of a store mannequin. Amanda. Tyler nodded from his seat. Little sister. Quite the accomplishment. That Forbes feature. Tyler. The awkwardness stretched like taffy. My mother bustled around, setting serving dishes on the table. My father took his position at the head, gesturing for everyone to sit. I remained standing. Before we eat, I'd like to understand the purpose of this dinner. Your message said, important discussion. My father cleared his throat. Let's have some food first, then we can talk about business. I prefer to discuss business first. He frowned, unused to being contradicted in his own home. Wendy, don't be difficult. Sit down. I've been standing for 20 minutes at board meetings. I can stand for this conversation. The temperature in this room dropped several degrees. Tyler shifted uncomfortably. Amanda stopped smiling. My mother tried to smooth things over. Sweetheart, we're just so proud of everything you've accomplished. We wanted to celebrate as a family and discuss some exciting opportunities. What opportunities? My father leaned back in his chair, adopting his boardroom posture. Your company is doing remarkably well. $92 million valuation, according to Forbes. Impressive growth trajectory. Your mother and I have been discussing investment opportunities, and we believe this would be an excellent addition to the family portfolio. There it was. You want to invest in Mindbridge. We want to support you, my mother corrected. Family supporting family. Your father has extensive experience with business investments. We could provide not just capital, but valuable guidance as you continue to scale. I opened my portfolio and pulled out a document. What kind of investment amount were you considering? My father's eyes brightened. We were thinking somewhere in the range of $2 million, significant enough to demonstrate our commitment, strategic enough to secure meaningful equity. $2 million for what percentage? We'd need to discuss that with your financial people. But given the current valuation and our role as family, perhaps 15 to 20% would be appropriate. I did the math in my head. At our current valuation, 15% would be worth nearly $14 million. They wanted to invest $2 million for equity worth $14 million, and they thought this was reasonable because of our role as family. Interesting proposal, I said. Tyler, Amanda. Are you also interested in investing? Tyler glanced at our father before responding. Jennifer and I had discussed potentially contributing as well. Perhaps $500,000 for a smaller equity position. And you, Amanda? Derek and I thought maybe $250,000. I mean, if there's room for us. I pulled out the documents Ross had prepared. I appreciate your interest. However, before we discuss any potential investment, I need you to review these documents. They outline the standard due diligence process, investment risks, and legal disclaimers required for all potential investors. I passed copies around the table. My father frowned as he scanned the first page. This seems excessive for a family investment. These are standard documents. Every investor who's contributed to MindBridge has signed similar agreements. I'm sure you understand the importance of legal protection for both parties. My mother looked confused. But sweetheart, we're your parents. Surely we don't need all this legal paperwork. Actually, the fact that your family makes these documents more important, not less. I have a fiduciary responsibility to my current investors and board members. Any family investment needs to be conducted with the same professional standards as any other investment. I let them read for a moment. The documents were legitimate, everything Ross and I had discussed, but they were also comprehensive, detailing every possible risk, every potential negative outcome, every way an investment could fail to generate returns. Now I continued. Before we proceed further, I need to understand something. This dinner invitation was the first communication I've received from any of you in 4 years. The last time we spoke was Christmas 5 years ago, when I told you about starting MindBridge. Wendy, that's not entirely fair, my mother started. I sent you updates, press releases, links to articles, an invitation to my TED Talk in Vancouver. Do you remember that TED Talk? Silence. I gave you 3 months' notice, then 2 months, then 1 month. I called you directly, Mom, and you said you'd try to make it. My mother's face flushed. We wanted to be there, honey. But your father had an important client meeting that weekend, and Amanda had that marketing conference. The TED Talk has been viewed 43 million times. 43 million strangers watched me discuss the work I'm most proud of. My own family couldn't be bothered to attend. Now that's not fair, my father interjected. You know how demanding business can be. We can't drop everything for every little event. Every little event. I stared at him. It was TED. And you know what? You're absolutely right about business demands. I do understand, which is why I'm very curious about the timing of this dinner invitation. I pulled out my phone and opened a saved article. Your company's Q2 earnings report showed a 12% decline in revenue. Tyler. Your firm lost its 2 biggest clients in the last 6 months. Amanda, your startup just had its second round of layoffs. The room went very still. So let me clarify the situation. For years, my family has dismissed my work as playing with computers. You've ignored my successes, skipped my milestones, and treated my career as an embarrassing hobby. But the moment my company hits a valuation that could financially benefit you suddenly, it's time for an important family discussion. That is not what this is about, my father said, but his voice lacked conviction. Then what is it about, Dad? Please explain to me why after 4 years of absolute silence, you decided to reach out the same week my Forbes cover was released. My mother tried again. Wendy, you're twisting this. We've always been proud of you. Stop, I held up a hand. Please just stop. I felt surprisingly calm. I'd expected anger, but instead I felt something closer to relief. I don't need you to lie to me. I don't need you to rewrite history. I just need you to understand something. I pulled out the final document from my portfolio. This is our current cap table. It shows all existing investors and their equity percentages. You'll notice there's no room for new investment at the Series C level. We're fully subscribed. Even if I wanted to accept your money, which I don't, there's no equity available. Then why did you have us review all those documents? Tyler asked. Because I wanted you to see what you missed. I wanted you to understand that the company you dismissed and ignored became successful enough that people now compete for the opportunity to invest. That Forbes article mentioned we turned down 47 investment offers during our last funding round. 47 people who actually believed in what we were building. I closed my portfolio. I came here tonight because I needed to see if you'd actually changed or if you were exactly who I thought you were, and you've confirmed everything I needed to know. Wendy, you're being incredibly unfair, my father said, his voice hardening. We're your family. We've supported you your entire life, paid for your education. I went to MIT on a full scholarship. We provided for you, gave you opportunities. You provided the basics required of parents. You gave me a roof over my head and food on the table. Congratulations on meeting the minimum legal requirements. How dare you speak to me that way in my own house? This might be your house, but I'm not the daughter who needs to seek your approval anymore. I built something meaningful without your support, without your guidance, and without your money. And you know what the really beautiful part is? I'm happier than I've ever been. Amanda's voice was small. Wendy, we really are proud of you. I looked at my younger sister, seeing someone I barely knew. Are you proud of what I might be able to do for you? Because there's a difference. She didn't answer. I turned to Tyler. You've worked your entire life to live up to Dad's expectations. Has it made you happy? He stared at his plate. I hope it has. I genuinely do. But I'm done living in this family's shadow, waiting for validation that will never come. My mother's eyes filled with tears. We're still your family. We love you. Maybe you do in your own way. But love without respect, without support, without showing up when it matters, that's not enough. I deserve more than that. And I finally understand that I don't need to earn my place at this table. I can build my own table. I walked toward the door. If you leave now, don't expect to come back, my father called after me. I turned back one last time. I haven't been back in 4 years. Another 40 won't make a difference. We could have helped you succeed, he said. All our connections, our experience. I succeeded without you. That's the part you can't accept. I didn't need your connections. I didn't need your experience. I didn't need your money. And that makes you uncomfortable because it means you don't have power over me anymore. My mother stood. Please, sweetheart, can't we work through this as a family? A family shows up. A family celebrates successes, not just the ones that benefit them financially. A family doesn't get to ignore you for 4 years and then opt back in when it's convenient. I picked up my portfolio. I hope your businesses improve. I genuinely do. But you'll have to figure that out without using my success as your safety net. You'll regret this, my father said. You'll need family eventually. I already have a family. My team at Mindbridge, the people who believed in this vision when no one else did. Jade, who maxed out credit cards because she trusted me. Marcus, who left a high-paying corporate job to join our startup. The 47 people who work for a company you dismissed as playing with computers. Those are my people. I opened the door, feeling the cool evening air. The documents I gave you, keep them. Not as investment agreements, but as a reminder of the opportunity you ignored until it was too late. A reminder that the daughter you overlooked built something extraordinary without you. You're making a mistake, my father said. No, Dad, you made the mistake years ago. Repeatedly, over and over. I'm just finally done pretending it didn't hurt. I walked out and didn't look back. The car was waiting at the curb. I slid into the back seat and gave the driver my address. As we pulled away from that house, I watched it recede in the side mirror, getting smaller and smaller until it disappeared around the corner. My phone buzzed. Jade, how'd it go? Me exactly as expected. On my way home. Jade, want company? Me. Yes, please. By the time I reached my condo, Jade was waiting in the lobby with Thai takeout and wine. We ate on my couch, and I told her everything. I'm proud of you, she said when I finished. For what burning bridges with my entire family. For knowing your worth. For refusing to let them minimize your success. For building something amazing and not letting them claim credit for it. I took a sip of wine. Think I'm being vindictive. I think you're being honest. There's a difference. My phone buzzed throughout the evening texts from my mother, pleading calls from Tyler, that I didn't answer a long email from Amanda that I deleted without reading. My father sent nothing. Over the following weeks, the attempts at contact gradually decreased. My mother tried the longest, sending messages about holidays and family traditions. I kept my responses polite but distant. No, I wouldn't be coming for Thanksgiving. No, Christmas wasn't going to work. No, I didn't want to reconsider the investment opportunity. 6 months later, a package arrived at the Mindbridge office. Inside was a framed photo from my childhood me at maybe 8 years old, smiling at something off camera. A note from my mother was tucked inside. "You were always special. I'm sorry we didn't show you that enough. Love, Mom." I kept the photo, but didn't respond to the note. MindBridge continued to grow. We expanded internationally, launched new features, helped millions of people access mental health support. Forbes did a follow-up article about our expansion. TechCrunch called me one of the top entrepreneurs to watch. I built that table. I mean, literally a huge custom dining table in my new house, big enough for 30 people. I hosted monthly dinners for my team, my chosen family, the people who showed up when it mattered. Sometimes I wonder if I was too harsh that night at my parents' house. Then I remember sitting backstage at TED, checking my phone for messages that never came. I remember every email I sent that went unanswered, every achievement I shared that was met with indifference. I don't regret walking out that door. 2 years after that dinner, my company's valuation hit $240 million. We're preparing for an IPO. I'm 31 years old, and I built something that matters to people. My father never texted again. Tyler eventually stopped calling. Amanda sent a friend request on social media last year. I didn't accept it, but I didn't decline it either. My mother still sends occasional messages on birthdays and holidays. I respond politely, briefly, maintaining the boundary I established that September evening. Because here's what I finally understood. You can't force people to see your value. You can't make them show up. You can't earn love and respect from people who've decided you're not worth the effort. But you can choose to stop waiting for their approval. You can build your own success. You can create your own family from people who actually celebrate your victories instead of showing up only when there's something in it for them. And you can walk away from that dinner table without regret, knowing that the most important discussion wasn't the one they wanted to have about investing in your company. It was the one where you finally invested in yourself.